Welcome to day 4 of 12 Days of Biohacking Gifts. I am so excited that you are listening or watching here on YouTube. Today is all about Valhalla Vitality, who specializes in supplements for biohackers, basically, or for those like super into wellness. So this giveaway includes 3 different products. I'm going to get into all of them. And in this interview, we definitely talk about these ingredients and we go way more in depth into it, into the science behind it as well. So we talk about Niavar, which has NMN in it, which is such a biohacker ingredient. This is what I love. I take it for longevity. We also talk about their infused roll-on, which is basically a supplement that goes through a roll-on that helps with like athletic performance and also pain relief. So I actually use this on my sore shoulders, which I get all of the time from working at my desk. And last but not least, which is like the most popular one with my followers and my audience, is their Hypovar supplement, which you can see here. So this is THCV in it. Basically, you microdose with THCV. And we all know microdosing is such a hot topic right now. So we dive all into this. But most importantly, you can win this yourself and you can, take it yourself. You can give it to somebody else you love over the holidays. So please enter the giveaway, which is linked in my show notes, on my Instagram, in the description below, basically everywhere. And if you are like, I just want to try these supplements myself, you can buy it as well through the link and use my discount code so that you can try it. The winner will win all 3 of these supplements. And like I said, the giveaway is open for 7 days. So there's plenty of time for you to enter. So stay tuned for tomorrow, which will be day 5 of my 12 Days of Biohacking Gifts campaign. Okay, welcome to another day of 12 Days of Biohacking Gifts. Today, we are getting into some supplements and ingredients that are very biohacking focused, actually. And we have a few different products I'm going to talk about from a brand called Valhalla Vitality. And today, joining us, we have Philip from the company. So welcome.
Hey, Brittany. How are you doing today?
Good. So before we dive into the specific products that I'm using for the giveaway for this, I just briefly want to hear from you, the founder, how and why you started Valhalla Vitality in the first place.
Cool. Yeah, talk about Valhalla Vitality because I have an interest in holistic wellness, specifically performance-oriented holistic wellness, which is biohacking, right? So I consider myself a biohacker, which is exciting to be on here for. But so basically we wanted to give people tools to optimize their health, happiness, wellness. And we wanted to design specific tools that they can use for specific goals.
And so how did you even decide which ingredients or which products to start with?
Well, there was products that I've used that I know are reliable, but a lot of times I would just pick out like singular ingredients because supplements like to use proprietary blends and they make their own specific formulations, which I like my own formulations better. So I would combine whatever ingredients and make my own formulations. And essentially that turned into making these formulations into specific products.
Yeah, I love that. Honestly, it can be really confusing knowing what supplements to take in general. Like even as a biohacker or somebody who's in the wellness space, like there's so many brands on the market, as you know, and there's so many different products. So if someone were to go to Valhalla Vitality and be like, okay, I'm really excited about what this brand is doing, do you have a product that you would recommend that they start with? Or is it like dependent on the symptoms that they're dealing with, I guess?
It's dependent on what kind of symptoms or goals they have in mind. Right. So, I mean, like there's tools that everybody could use, right? I think that Niavar is something like that because it is a little bit more generalized. Like I guess that would be our most generalized product. Niavar is an NMN product and it has methyl B12 and methylfolate in it. Right. So NMN, it's great for anti-aging. It's great for your skin, hair, nails, energy levels, anti-fatigue. Right. So it's a great anti-aging and performance oriented product. And, it's never too early to start with anti-aging. An ounce of prevention is worth 10 pounds of cure. right? So, but the thing is that what's special about this product is with the methylfolate and methyl B12, where you're getting is it's both synergistic with enhancing like the actual positive effects of the product. But then what a lot of people don't know is that anytime that you're increasing NAD plus and, mitochondrial function, you're actually creating higher levels of homocysteine. It's a byproduct, and it's cardiotoxic, and it's basically bad for any arteries. It can cause arterial sclerosis, and your levels aren't going to be that high where taking NMN is going to cause atherosclerosis, but it does take away from the positive effects for anti-aging, right? So you're not getting the most out of your NMN product without having these methyl donors in it. So that's why it's important that you use methyl B12 and the methylfolate. The methylation of homocysteine actually neutralizes it and makes it into a benign amino acid that you can use for muscle repair even.
That's really interesting, actually. I don't know if I've ever heard of that before. Would that be true with any type of biohacks that support mitochondrial health or like stimulate mitochondria?
Yeah. So homocysteine is just a byproduct of the Krebs cycle. So, and it's basically a radical, it's like a free radical in your body. So, but to neutralize it, instead of oxidizing, you're actually methylating it. So you need a methyl donor.
Wow. So, I mean, we're kind of going off topic here, but if you do something like red light therapy or, different things like that, or like saunas or anything like that, that like actually are like a physical thing that helps mitochondria, would you recommend like taking a B complex, like methylated B complex while you're doing that as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. So we all know that all these things have these positive effects, right? Like nobody's having heart attacks because you're enhancing your mitochondrial function.
Yeah.
Right? But the positives outweigh those negatives. But why not get the most out of it, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no amount of homocysteine in your body that's good. So neutralize it, and then you're maximizing and optimizing the benefits of these therapies.
Yeah. No, I actually really appreciate that. And I love that because I think like on our previous podcast episodes, we've talked about this, but the ovaries are the most mitochondria dense organ in both the males and females, with about 100,000 mitochondria per cell in the ovaries, which is an insane amount. And so as somebody who doesn't have kids, but wants kids in the future, I'm always thinking about my mitochondria and how to support my ovaries and my menstrual cycle. But then it's really interesting to hear that you could overstimulate the mitochondria in there. And you really need to kind of like weigh out that through taking methyl B vitamins, which is something I've actually never thought about.
Yeah. It's an easy way to do it. And plus, B vitamins are good for you, right?
Yeah.
So it's like good synergy and nothing but good effects from it. So
yeah, exactly. It's interesting. I had my DNA tested actually a few weeks ago, and it came back and it said that for vitamin B12, I shouldn't be taking methylated. I should be taking, I think it's called like adensyl, which is like the activated form of it, because I actually would react better to taking it already activated compared to taking it methylated, which is the first time again I've heard of that. So I've been like switching up my B vitamins a bit to try and absorb them better. Yeah.
Well, methylfolate's good too. I guess I don't know if the DNA test applies across the board with that, but I mean, there's always complexes too, right? Like you get something methylated and maybe the activated form as well. Plus there's B12 injections are the best way to go if you're actually looking for the B12 itself.
Yeah. It only talked about B12, but I think it is interesting when you look at like things like folate as well. And we've talked about this as well. I've had my B vitamins tested on a blood test before, and it came back that my B12 was super, super high. So I remember when I first started taking this, I was concerned about the methylated B12 in it because I didn't want to increase my levels anymore. But then you said like there's actually no negative side effects of having too much B12 in the body.
Yeah, no, there isn't. And it's B12 is kind of like a weird thing because it was one of those things that I never really believed in before until I actually got a B12 injection. Right. Because you talk to doctors and you do your research and as long as you have meat in your diet, you're getting enough B12, right? Like you do a B12 test And, you're not going to have the negative effects associated with low B12. But then you do a B12 shot and you feel great.
Yeah.
And I had waited a while until my company was actually doing B12 shots, and we just had them in the office. And I was like, you know what? I'll try one of the B12 shots.
Yeah.
And I felt great for days afterwards. And it wasn't something,
wow.
I know that it wasn't placebo because I was not expecting it to do it. Like, I really wasn't. I was like, no, it's placebo for everybody. And it wasn't. And a lot of people swear by it. So with that in mind, right, if you're in the normal range and then you take like this nice bolus of it, and you only feel better, and then there's no like clinical symptoms of B12 overdose.
Yeah.
But what's the issue?
Yeah.
Right.
And so I guess like symptoms of low B12 are like low energy, fatigue, that type of thing, right?
Anemia.
Yeah. And are there specific symptoms of like too much homocysteine in the body, like you previously talked about?
Yeah. So that'll also cause fatigue, and then like it could cause brain fog, and then cardiac and cognitive effects. And it's especially over time. Right. So a lot of homocysteine, it's due to, if you have chronically high homocysteine, a lot of times it's due to stress. And then like those manifestations of stress, like those long-term effects, are associated with high homocysteine. So what you're seeing is cardiac problems, kidney problems, negative changes in cognition. I don't know if it's really Alzheimer's, but Alzheimer's type progression over time.
Right. Yeah, that's really good to know. One of my favorite products that you guys have is the Hypovar. I've never seen any other products on the market like this. And it has 225 milligrams of total THCV in it. So 15 milligrams per serving. So what is THCV if you were to describe it to somebody?
THCV is an antagonist of the CB1 receptor. So it's cannabinoid, very similar to THC. However, it has the opposite effects of THC. It provides mental clarity, focus, a small boost in energy, appetite suppression, and it's actually very calming too. So I describe it as like putting you into like a flow state. So this is a state where you're engaged with your environment, where you're calm, and your thoughts just kind of, they flow, right?
Yeah.
And it's Hypovar. I got mine here, actually. I took it before the podcast because it's my favorite product as well.
Nice.
And I have ADD, like primarily inattentive, but for me, a lot of times that means that I have a hard time getting started with things, especially when we're switching topics and jumping into new things. It's like my mind could go in a lot of places at once. And using Hypovar has really allowed me to, it almost makes it like I don't have ADD when I take it.
Wow.
So, and it's great because I took Vyvanse when I was a kid and young adult, and with the help of supplements, now I don't have to take anything anymore. And I could write articles. These are just things that like were always very difficult for me to do. And I always had, the nice thing about ADD is you get a lot of creativity with it. So I have a lot of ideas, but this stuff doesn't repress my ideas, right? My creativity. So it's very nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that as well. I think it really helps with focus and clarity. How do you, and I don't know if you have, but have you microdosed with like psilocybin or other things? And if so, how would you say it compares to using something like this?
Yeah. So I have microdosed with psilocybin, and it's, comparatively, I think it's just way different, right? So for psilocybin, for me, it helps with creativity and the ideas, but it makes me kind of scatterbrained. And I don't find that it actually helps with anxiety at all either. It actually gives me a little bit of social anxiety, so the psilocybin microdose. But it is good for creativity. And it's like you're overflowing with ideas, more or less.
Yeah.
The Hypovar, that just kind of helps me get into the flow where if I'm writing, I can just like the words just kind of come out. There's no that barrier to entry where I can sit there and kind of struggle like getting that first idea, like a complete idea out. It just doesn't exist when I'm taking Hypovar.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that it reduces like the lag time almost, and if I'm switching tasks or like just getting stuff done on a to-do list, like it really reduces the time between tasks, like reduces procrastination, reduces me just like faffing around and not getting anything done. So it's great. It really is great. And it's the type of thing that you can also take while you work, like we're talking about. Like it doesn't make you high or anything like that. Like it doesn't make you not be able to talk to somebody. You know what I mean? Like you're very aware of everything.
Yeah. It makes you, for me, it makes me sharper. It's like, that's why like if people get nervous that it's like it's similar to THC. It's not similar in the effects. It's literally the opposite effects. You're not going to feel this brain fog. And even people who get anxiety with it, with THC, it's going to have the opposite effects on you. It's very common. You can take it, you could actually even take it like before bed if you needed to.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So I don't take it before bed because I just sleep pretty well. So I haven't needed to.
Yeah.
But when people get like these racing thoughts before bed and like almost like an anxiety, you could take it as to help with that.
Oh, interesting. So it's not like stimulating in any way then before you go to sleep?
Nope.
Wow.
No, it's not stimulating.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have never thought to try it before sleep because I know how much focus I get from it. But that's,
Yeah, but it's like that calming effect. So you feel like you get energy from it, but it's just that you have that like clarity and motivation. So it's like, it's uplifting in that fact, but it's not similar to like Adderall or Vyvanse or these prescription drugs where you have that like drive, it's not going to get you up and get you cleaning your house, right? You have control over it. So that's why for some people, it's actually better than these prescription drugs because it's not going to make them do some tests that they don't need to do. They're just in control now, and it gives them more control over where they put their energy.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done Adderall before, like in university, and I very much felt out of control when I was taking it. I only did it a couple times, but it felt like the focus and I don't know, clarity's there, but the focus is there, but you really can't control it. And you kind of just wait until the high is gone, essentially. Yeah.
It's like, it's that drive. It's an overwhelming drive. Like, it's like you take it and now you have to do something. So, and the hypervisor is just not like that. So that's why, like, if you needed to go to sleep, like now your mind is clear and that's where you're putting your energy. Your energy is in closing your eyes and just, going to sleep now. So,
yeah. So do you do it every day, or is it like when you want to get into that flow state, you do it or take it?
So I take it just as needed. I have a pretty demanding job and life. So I do end up taking it maybe 5 days a week, sometimes a little bit less. Wow. Usually I take it in the morning before the gym and it lasts a few hours. So it's good pre-workout, and then it lasts me into the morning. So like it helps me get my day started. And then there's days like today where I'm on the podcast and I just wanted that extra clarity and flow. Yeah. So I took it before the podcast. But another way to take it would be with lower doses if you're looking for the appetite suppression. Right. So that 15 milligram dose, which is 2 droppers full, it's a rather high dose. I mean, 5 milligrams is enough for a lot of people. Yeah. So, and the reason why we did that is just, it is more marketing actually, because the 15 milligram dose it's strong and it works for a lot of people, but a lot of people can get that with less. And the good thing is, since it's a liquid, you have control over how much you actually take. Right. So, but compared to other products on the market, which have, like a 5 milligram dose or a 10 milligram dose for a similar price point, people just see that they're getting more. I mean, obviously that's good for the consumer, but it doesn't mean that you have to take the full dose. And it's very easy to titrate the droppers on here. I'm just going to take it out. Yeah. See if you can see it. But I don't know. Can you see that? What we have is the markings on there. So, and 2 full droppers, so 2 milliliters would be the 15 milligrams. But you can take 3.5 milligrams and get some of that appetite suppression. So like a half a dropper, and you just take it a few times a day. And if you're doing something like some kind of intermittent fasting and you want to make it until 5 o'clock at night, you could take some mid-morning, and then you could take some in the mid-afternoon, and that helps you get the most out of your fast.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting. And when I have talked about it on social media, I talk a lot about that because so many people are into intermittent fasting right now, or just fasting in general. And obviously, it can be really difficult to do 20 hours or like longer fast during the day. And people drink like coffee because caffeine suppresses the appetite, but that's also not that great for like our hormones, cortisol, etc. So it's interesting to take something like this, which wouldn't take you out of a fasting state, but would also reduce appetite at the same time. It's like such a bonus. And then you're also more focused. So like, it's great. Yeah.
And studies also show that it improves glucose control and insulin sensitivity.
Wow.
So yeah. So and that's actually like an effect of the drug that's independent of diet.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you stumble upon like this specific ingredient?
I was at a convention and I was talking to a bodybuilder actually, who he was like into all different cannabinoids, and he had ADD, and he actually was telling me how there's certain strains of cannabis that you could actually like, and he smoked cannabis, and he was telling me that like there's this new cannabinoid THCV that some strains have more, and it's helped him with his ADD. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So let me do a little bit of research on this, like THCV, like what is it, right? And once I found out that it was an antagonist of the CB receptor, right? So it's having the opposite effects. That's where I got interest, because THC for me is something that causes anxiety, causes brain fog. It doesn't have desirable effects to me. But hearing that there was something natural out there that you could have these great effects. I mean, it sounded almost like too good to be true to me.
Yeah.
Where all these different cannabinoids coming from the plant, it's like, how real is this? Or are people just obsessed with cannabis, right? Because it's like a fad.
Yeah.
And so, but I found a company with extracts online that, so they have their own lab, and they extract specific cannabinoids, and they have, all the purity data. It's like 99.8% pure. And it comes like a resin. And so then I was able to take some of that and I tried it myself. And I was like, this needs to be in a product. This needs to be something accessible that people don't need to use a resin for, because usually that's made for smoking, but you could chip a little piece off and put it in a capsule or in a liquid. And we have our liquid delivery system. So I put some in there, tested it. It worked great. And we just designed the product from that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Like I said, like I haven't seen anyone else sell this like anywhere, no other company. So it's really cool to see a product like this really come onto the market and also be like very accessible for people. Like you said, like it's really difficult with things like this in the beginning, but I think you guys are doing a great job of breaking into the space with it. And I also find it so interesting that going back to this, like, it suppresses appetite, where there's so many times when we're high and like we're like, when I've taken gummies before and like my appetite is through the roof and I eat so much, whereas like this is still a cannabinoid, but yet it suppresses the appetite instead. Like that, it's just fascinating to me that it works like that,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The thing about it, and why you probably haven't seen it, is because it's a weird market where people who are interested in cannabinoids are usually looking for some kind of high, or even with like CBD, it's not a high, but there's that body feeling, right? And this doesn't give any of that. So anybody who's already marketing a cannabinoid has that market of people who are looking for those specific effects. And now this is something that you're going to take and you might not necessarily like feel, right? Like you notice the performance benefits, but you're not going to take it and then all of a sudden have this, because it doesn't make you high. So you're not going to have like any kind of feeling like that.
Yeah.
But so it's something like, but if you have like some kind of performance test, I'm sure you could quantify your performance increase with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's exactly what it is. It's, we kind of have this preconceived notion of cannabis in general and what it is and how it's been presented in society, and the history of it isn't that great either. And so to take a different part of the plant and use it for a more healing purpose, essentially, a more holistic purpose, is like something that we're moving into, but it's very nuanced. It's very new right now, which is exciting for you.
Yeah, it is.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. If anybody wants to enter the giveaway, it is now live on my Instagram channel and it will be linked below, and all of more information will be there as well.